Hey everyone, I'm Robbie Cornthwaite and you're watching Pure Bred Reds, Adelaide United Fan TV.
G'day guys and welcome to the Pure Bred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host Ellis Gillios. We're back in the studio this week to preview the game against Newcastle Jets this Sunday at Cooper Stadium, and in order to do so I'm joined by a former member of Adelaide United's media department. He's now working for the Norwood Redlegs as the media manager, Joseph Marciano. How you going?
EG, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good mate, going well. We're going really well.
Going well until this morning as Liverpool fans.
Mate,
What happened there?
Absolute torture.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I only watched up until the 90th minute.
Just emotionally raped.
But yeah, just the heartache of going out now. We didn't even make the quarters.
It's a bit of a strange situation, isn't it? Because like, you know, all this, there's been so much made of the season that we've been having, and suddenly...
Well, people are calling it a failed one now.
Well, I mean, if we're lifting the Premier League in front of no fans...
Oh, it just couldn't go any worse and
the fact that it's pretty much secured already, like... Oh, we've got like 3 awkward months of just like biding our time and waiting for the off-season, really.
Exactly right, no, I agree, but at the end of the day, we just want to win that Premier League trophy and lift it for the fans, so...
All about perspective. Joe, you were at the Western game.
I was, yep, I was.
We'll talk more about it in a sec, but geez, not the nicest viewing, was it?
No, it wasn't. You know, there was there was just patches in this game where I don't understand what the game plan was and the position.
I don't think anyone even knew that there really was a game plan in regards to the 11 players that took the pitch, but I think significantly it was like the first ever home game in my recent memory, maybe going back as far to 3-4 years, where there was just so much restlessness in the stands. It just it didn't feel like a United game. What I
heard after the game, and I can't repeat this on camera, but in that Western stand where I was sitting, the people were absolutely, they were atrocious by that performance. And
really?
They were embarrassed, and they let whoever it was that was in front of them have it, because when they walked out and some of the expletives I heard with kids around and all that, it was really bad. So
yeah, that's interesting, because usually the Western stand is probably the most tame. It's kind of the corporate kind of stand. It's, you know, your more reserved kind of audience.
Yeah, not where I was sitting. Let me tell you this right now.
Wow, that is very, very interesting. We're going to get into things, Joe. So it's a revised kickoff this Sunday against Newcastle Jets. It's at 5:50 now. It's been delayed because of the W League game beforehand and the fact that I think it could go to extra time. So Fox Sports just want to make sure that the games are not overlapping. If you can't make the game, as always, you can watch live on Fox Sports and the KO Sports app. Now, in terms of our squad news, Ben Halloran is back in, hopefully officially this time. He was supposed to play last week but came down with illness at the very last second. Lockie Brook and Kusini Yangi are also back in the extended squad, and significantly from the Newcastle Jets point of view, Joe Ledley is in the squad, which is not good reading for us. Now, just before we get into our main preview, Joe, a few little did-you-knows thanks to Opta, who have provided these very interesting rundowns. Now, Adelaide United are undefeated in their last 6 A-League matches against the Jets. That's 4 wins and 2 draws. The Reds have won each of their last 2 meetings and will thus be aiming for 3 successive wins for the first time ever against Newcastle in a regular season. The Jets are winless in their last 6 games away from home. They've lost 5 of those and drawn 1, conceding an average of 3 goals per game in that span. Sounds familiar, I've got to say. There's been a total of 13 goals scored in Adelaide's last 2 A-League games played on a Sunday. The Reds picked up a 4-3 win and a 5-1 loss against Western United in those games. And lastly, Jets attacker Dimi Petratos has created the most scoring chances at 69 and made the 2nd most total shots, which is 65, of any player this A-League season. Only Wellington Phoenix's Ulysses Davila with 70 has made more total shots. Interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting, to say the least.
It's always, I really enjoy those little Opta stats because sometimes you just see one and you're just like, what the hell, is that even right? Like, just judging by the way things are feeling from any point of view of any club, sometimes you just see one of those and you think, geez, that can't be right. But
well, for the Jets, not having won, you know, in 5 or 6 games outside of Newcastle, it's a pretty, you know, it's a pretty big game.
It is.
When you think of it, and they're in a little bit of form now.
They are.
Under the new coach, a couple of new players, so their spirits are lifted. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we will touch on that. Now, Joe, as previously mentioned, you were at the game. I want to just hear your analysis because you did break it down off camera. Very interesting. I'm not telling you to morph yourself into Craig Foster, but give us a brief analysis of how it all went so badly, cataclysmically wrong for Adelaide United last Saturday.
Well, I mean, there's 2 parts of it. Watching the game itself and identifying what you thought was something that was wrong, but then listening to Mark Ruden's press conference and then thinking, right, he nailed the game plan, which was, in fact, to target the flanks and use triangles with Diamanti, Berisha and Risdon to get around Adelaide's, you know, fullbacks. Now, he wasn't didn't want to be disrespectful on camera to the fullbacks, but they were definitely exposed.
We could all read between the lines, couldn't we?
And we can see 3 assists from Risdon from the right hand side. They nailed the game plan to perfection. And when you've got Diamanti and walking into the box for the second goal with no pressure, something's clearly wrong defensively, and the communication not exactly right at all.
Was it the 5th one that concerned you most? Because somehow Elsie and Jacobson could clearly, as professional centre-backs, identify what was going to happen. The ball came in from the far right side, and just a perfectly placed ball, and you had Elsie and Jacobson just both looking at the ball.
I disagree with you. I think the second one with Diamanti.
Was more.
You've got a guy that's played Serie A at the highest level, played an international team for Italy, and you're letting him walk into the box with no pressure, and what do you think is going to happen really? He's going to punish you. He was amazing, and that one there for me was the part where I just went, this could get real ugly if they don't tighten this up, and it just blew out of proportion really.
Ugly is what it got, I think is the perfect way to describe it. I mean, what happened? What went wrong? Because we don't lose heavily at home. The last time the club lost severely at home was in the 2016-17 season against Perth Glories, 5-0, and we know how bad that season went. I think you were around at the club at that time as well. So it's very, very unusual and unique that the team just gets humiliated, particularly by a team that's not even in form.
And they did put 6 away against the Mariners the week before that, so you've got to give them credit there.
We can't look too far into that because we know how disastrous the Mariners have been.
Exactly right, but you've scored 6 goals. I mean,
they're coming off a rich reign of goal scoring form.
Okay, they've got 6 goals there. Now, I didn't expect them to beat Adelaide 5-1, but something's clearly wrong if, you know, the positioning of some players, particularly the 2 centre-backs, with that Diamanti goal, just the way they were spread apart, and, you know, the communication from Strain, who should be getting back, and, you know, there was just things that were wrong all over the park that, you know, the 5 goals were well deserved, to be honest, because Adelaide probably weren't working hard enough off the ball to defend enough. So I think positioning is one thing that's let Adelaide down.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the front third, it's fine. I think we've got enough talent, Troisi, McGree, Halloran. We've got the firepower to score, Milusnic. But I think Dorigo at the moment's a bit out of form. You'd say Elsie's been a bit out of form for a while. Strain's come back from injury.
You'd have to say Jacobson, the armband lets him off in my opinion.
Yeah, and Maria's been out of form for about a month and a half. So
since round 1.
So really, he's been. And I actually thought Maria was actually okay in a couple of round 3 to 4.
He had one good game against the Mariners, and other than the FA Cup, I can't recall a game where you could say.
Well, not as of late. He's been hasn't been great at all. So there's obviously guys that have dropped form now. Whether Verbeek needs to make these changes soon enough.
We'll get into that later in the preview, but I just want to quickly bring you up on the fact that has the link-up play between what was technically a 4-4-2 on paper on Saturday, but it's usually a 4-3-3. The link-up play between midfield and the front 3 it was non-existent after probably the first 3 minutes on Saturday. Obviously, you had Riley McGree's goal from outside the box, very much a solo effort.
Yeah.
We had Western under the pump in that first 3 minutes on Saturday, but after that point, there was just, I mean, Millie Usnich was non-existent. Obviously, we missed Halloran. Riley McGree was doing the running of TOURE side of the players. You know, Mork was gassed half the time. Yeah, Tracy looked like he never got out of first gear. What I want to ask you is, obviously the defence is seriously come under the spotlight, and rightly so, because they've conceded 12 goals in 3 games, which is awful. But the link-up play between midfield and the front three, has that kind of gone without the criticism that it's deserved to have?
Well, it's a good question. I think at the moment, Adelaide don't know what to do with the ball. Whenever Elsie gets sort of reacted, they're always basically looking for that diagonal ball over the top. So I can see
there's been a lot of that, hasn't there?
There's been plenty of it. And Rudin identified that again, and I'm going to harp on it because he named the gameplay, but he did say that Adelaide don't have much else besides the long balls at the moment, and he actually said that. So they want to use those long balls to get, and now that's a great idea because Malusnich is quick, so is Halloran. They will get it. Now, there's got to be an option B. There's got to be a plan B when that's not working. And I'm not sure Adelaide
has to go to perfection.
Yeah, and I don't think Adelaide have a plan B at the moment. They don't know where to look when they get the ball.
I'm not convinced we have a plan A, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because Gertjan Verbeek's whole remit was to come in and get this team playing an attractive Dutch style of possession-based football, which isn't happening.
Did we start a striker on the... I can't remember. Was there a striker, an out-and-out striker on field on Saturday?
I don't think so, because Blackwood played in the midfield.
Oh, so Blackwood played in the midfield. Who was up front leading the line? Troyes?
Millie Usnich was one, and I can't even recall who the other one was on paper.
Because you had Mork there as well.
Mork was in midfield.
Midfield?
Yeah.
Okay, so where's McGree then?
McGree's in midfield too.
And Tracy?
Tracy's in midfield. Yeah, a 4-4-2 on paper.
Oh, 4-4-2 on paper, sorry.
Yeah. So it would have been
Malusnich up front.
Malusnich up front with someone else. I don't know.
Well, I thought Mork was on the right at one stage as well.
Yeah.
So, gee, at the moment, there's no striker either they're playing with. So, I'm a little bit confused with what they're getting at without playing. Ops had on the bench, he scored a week before he gets to Melbourne. Now, you're probably starting to give him a little bit more confidence, but they didn't back him in, which is interesting. But, you know, it's the decision they made. And look, it wasn't great.
I think he might have been Blackwood up front with Willis.
I might have been Blackwood then, there you go.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And you've got to feel for Blackwood. He's played, look, as much as people crap on about him, about his performances, to be honest with you, he hasn't been settled all year. He's been playing centre mid, right wing,
he's got 3 different
cam,
positions.
striker. I feel for the guy. He needs to just, they need to ease him into one position, let him master it, because he scored a cracker 3 weeks before that against the Mariners on that Friday night. Now, he hit the bar twice against Melbourne victories, so he can get into these areas. So why don't you leave him in as the striker? I'm not sure.
Beggars belief, but interesting how Mark Rudin, who's been under a bit of scrutiny himself, they went on quite a poor run, and he's now scored, what, 11 goals?
11 goals in 2 games.
In 2 games, his team scored, so and 2 very convincing wins. So suddenly, when everyone was sort of looking overlooking...
Well, they had that exodus in the middle of the year when they lost Chapman and all these guys. Now,
Gulam,
and now all of a sudden, they didn't have Kone on the weekend either.
Yeah, and even Scott McDonald, there were rumours that he just didn't get along with Rudin and...
Bit of unrest there. And they lost Curnow as well.
Yeah. Early on in the game. Yeah, look, it's a very interesting point of view to get Mark Rudin saying that Adelaide just didn't really have much of
the game plan.
Yeah, you know, you would have thought prior to kick-off that if anyone was in that position, it might have been Western, and they were just lucky to hammer a very poor Mariners side the week before, but they took us to the sword. Now, as an extension of that awful result, I've got to ask, there's been a lot of emotionally motivated sensationalist posts circulating on social media. Some are calling for Gertjan Verbeek's head, others are pointing to a post-season clean-out of the playing squad, particularly the defence, as you might understand. For you, what needs to change, and does it appear as though there's definitely discontent in the dressing room as fans seem to believe this, given what's been dished up in the last few weeks?
It's a good question. Look, I'm probably more on the side of there's some disbelief within the team at the moment. Now, I don't know if they're not playing for him. Confidence well and truly down. They were good for about 10 minutes against the Victory, and then I thought they were pretty ordinary after that.
Away in Melbourne 2 weeks ago?
After they scored the goal, really. And then last week, obviously, was an absolute...
Don't forget, against Victory, Blackwood hit the post twice.
Yes, okay,
so, but we also have to weigh up the fact that Victory are really bad. And we're the only club that have played them into form in like the last 7 weeks.
Exactly right. Mind you, it was a cracker from the boot.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the moment, there does appear to look like there's some unrest within that squad. Now, whether Verbeek's the man to take them forward, I'm not too sure. Again, they're just inconsistent at the moment, Adelaide. I don't know what you're going to get with them. You clearly don't know what you're going to get.
No one does.
They can go to somewhere and win. They can stay at home and lose. They'll be, against the Mariners on that Friday night. Actually, the Mariners actually had a lot of the ball that game, and they weren't able to finish. But they played well, and Adelaide didn't really look like they were going to...
Well, they created more chances than we did.
They did, and TOURE came on and scored, and Blackwood scored a belter. But there does look like there's unrest. I'm not sure if they might need to have a clean out. I don't know, really. It's a hard call at the moment. But there's some players that probably shouldn't be playing at the moment, let me tell you that now.
Where I'm caught in two minds is the fact that at the start of the year, Verbeek wins the FFA Cup.
Yep.
And so from that point, it is the only cup competition you can win as an A-League club in this country.
Yep.
You kind of, as a fan, theoretically should be giving him the season. At least. You should be saying,
no, I agree.
He's won the cup.
I agree.
Whether he makes the finals or not, it's his first season.
I agree.
He doesn't know the league. He should at least ride out the season. But it's the manner in which we've been losing. The fact that, as you just mentioned, our best is pretty good, but our worst is bottom two material easily. And this is what is kind of making fans more and more disenchanted per every week. When you're seeing the way we just completely unravelled at the Wanderers in a game that, had we won, we would have been second on the table, and that wasn't even a month ago, to now not even in the top six, looking up towards the top six, and the magnitude of the fixtures that we have coming up is very, very concerning as well. We're going to talk about that later.
But what concerns me more so is the fact that every week we look at these teams come out, and there is always 2 to 3 injuries to key players every single week. This team is never
fit,
balanced, and never fit. Now, I don't know what is going on there, because we lose Halloran 1 week, we lose Miller Usnich 1 week, we lose Tracy out for 3 weeks, McGree was out for a little bit, Offset, Strain. We just lose guys. We lost obviously TOURE now, obviously out for nearly the year. We are just never, and that's just, I don't understand it, because it's just a normal thing for them at the moment. Oh yeah, we've got another injury to Tracy. Now that guy's important to this team.
Absolutely.
And we need our key players in the park. Everyone needs, you take Ninkovic out 1 week of Sydney, you take Batman, you take out Lafonra, you take out Barbarouses every 2 or 3.
They're a bottom 16, they're bottom 14.
Things aren't going to work for you. So that's what I'm concerned at the moment, is the amount of injuries we get with key players, and then forces when we have to put Blackwood centre attacking mid. Is that his natural position? I don't think so. Centre mid, right wing, I don't get it. So that's concerning.
It leads to the greater point, doesn't it, of the fact that for 3 years we've been looking at George Blackwood having so much reliance and pressure on him to deliver the goods, but more so, what is concerning about the point you've just made is, why do these injuries happen?
I don't get it.
And we did on this show highlight whether there needs to be more scrutiny placed on the fitness staff, because a lot of these injuries are not impact injuries, and so as United fans, we're just struggling to comprehend.
Even Izzo was out 1 week as well.
Miller Usnich.
You
can literally go through 85% of the starting 11 have had injury issues the whole way through the season, and you then have to sort of weigh that up and think, well, how are we going to make a serious amount to finish in the top 2 or even top 4?
Because Verbeek got no choice but to play these youngsters to bring them up.
Yeah.
Because we've got no real. We've got all these guys on the injury list. We've got to play these youngsters. So I mean, it's good that they're getting a chance though.
Absolutely, mate. We're going to move forward and talk more closely about Gertjan Verbeek now. If it is the case that he's running out of time, surely he has to start making changes to this starting 11 very quickly. A player such as Mirko Bolan and Mohamed Toure, obviously we've seen what Mohamed Toure can do.
Yeah.
The general impression seems to be because he's 15 and because he's so raw and because he might go out of his way to try pull a skill move out in a situation where it's probably a low percentage move to do that based on his lack of experience.
Yeah.
That's why he's not starting games, and that's why he's being utilised as an impact player.
Yeah.
But we've seen what he can do. We know what Mirko Bolan's about. He's not the greatest midfielder in the world. We know that.
The fittest as well, because he's always getting injured.
No, but and look, I'll be honest. I can't really pinpoint what it is that he does bring, but there is something there because if you rewind back to last season, there were games where he clearly changed the momentum upon entering the starting 11, and you feel like there was an article that came out by Spiro Kevnikos Mimis on In Daily about the fact that Louis Dorigo's due for rest.
Yep,
he's young.
I like him as well.
Everyone likes him, but he's been burnt out.
But
clearly been burnt out.
Clearly he's been burnt out.
He may well need a rest. Obviously, the like for like would be Boland, because Constan's obviously injured. So those two players, Mirko Boland as well as Mohamed Toure, should they be in contention for a starting berth for the first time this season?
Definitely. I think Toure needs to start. I don't understand why you can't play the two up front with Blackwood and Toure and let Toure bounce off.
I think it's just because Blackwood's not used to playing in a front two.
Okay, right. Well, what I'm saying is why not they... I mean, I understand, it's a good point, but, maybe we play Toure.
But you don't even need to play Mohamed Toure up front. You could start him in place of Miliusnic, assuming it's going to be...
Yeah, that's right.
Assuming it'll be a 4-3-3.
Well, off for Hunter, right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think you probably will because you want to have Hunter.
You want Howard on the park. Miliusnic hasn't had his best last.
Now he's been out of form severely, so he needs to probably either he needs to spell because at the moment he's not good enough on that left wing spot. But what I want to know is at the moment, and answer me if you can, with Mork, Troisi, and McGree. They're all centre attacking midfield players.
Yes.
And
Troisi is more of a 6 these days.
Now, is he a good enough 6? What's he more damaging? Is it as a number 10 or a 6?
I think the idea is just to not push him that far forward because when you've got him on the ball with space and time, he can make things happen.
Right.
So because you've got more energetic players in McGree and theoretically Mork, we're yet to see it, but when you've got those kinds of assets, you want to...
Because Mork was, he was excellent when he was with us in a more of a centre attacking midfield position. Now he probably hasn't played that, so maybe do we have to look at giving him a spot?
Look, my friend made the point that he thinks Stefan Mork was brought into the team this year because of the fact that we will 100% be losing one of Troisi and McGree next season, if not both.
Yeah.
So you've got Mork there.
Well, there's going to be definitely McGree. He's hot property.
Look, if McGree is at Adelaide United next season, I'll do one of these shows naked.
Please don't do that.
It's not going to happen.
I won't be watching.
That's what I'm saying.
I won't be watching.
Yeah, I don't think many people will. But so basically, I think that's the reason why Troisi doesn't have more of an advanced role.
But I'm pretty sure all of his roles he's played are all advanced roles. He was at Victory, he was an advanced role. You never saw him as a 6 at Victory.
Yeah, look, I use 6 sparingly. More 8.
I don't think the balance is right. That's what for me is like this lineup on the weekend baffled me. How can you have Mork, Troisi, and McGree? I just don't understand.
The idea I think off the ball is that McGree does all the Dorigo does all the hard running.
Yeah.
And Troisi scans, right? So the idea is Dorigo does the hard running, wins back possession, looks up to find Troisi immediately, and then Troisi's got time and space and he can look ahead to what's going on in front of him, see where the space is, and try and make things happen. I think that is the system, or the idea of what the system should be.
Right.
It doesn't work every week, there's no question about it, and right now, with Troisi, McGree, Mork, Dorigo, Boland, and Brook as well, all fit, he's got a tough time trying to find his best system.
I agree.
So, but look, it all sort of points towards the fact that Verbeek really needs to start thinking hard about what he's going to do to change things, because the template isn't working right now.
No, it's definitely not.
No question about it. So, you know, rather than complaining every week in his press conferences, which he seems to have fallen into the habit of doing, he needs to think up a new plan, quick, smart.
Well, you think about Western United's midfielders, probably on paper, I think Adelaide's is probably a little bit better. Besides the Diamante factor is massive. Sorry.
Yeah, and Kone as well.
And Kone as well. But Kone hasn't set the competition on fire.
You've got to put it in context though, Joe, because these are two older guys playing in the Australian heat.
Yeah.
And Rudin has accommodated them.
Yeah, he has.
Through the formation he plays, which is what Verbeek is not doing. He's been found out.
Even Pasquale.
Yeah.
Played really well on the weekend for them.
He hasn't even featured that much.
No.
So it's scary to think what might happen there.
Exactly right.
We're going to move forward. Now let's discuss the Jets. They've been flying under their new manager, Carl Robinson.
Yeah.
They've also enhanced their playing stocks with the additions of Bernie Abini and Joe Ledley. Two pretty big ins.
Massive ins.
Let's be honest.
This competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, not only do they seem reinvigorated, but concerningly, they are playing some sensational stuff. And furthermore, players are obviously very motivated right now, knowing that Robinson is going to be there next season and he's in a position to, obviously, when the off-season comes, go ahead and do what he wants to do with this squad. And so players are looking over their shoulders thinking, right, I've got to get my skates on here. I've really got to impress. Everyone's in that mindset.
Mind you, O'Donovan's been pretty good since crossing over as well.
That's another one.
Yeah.
That's another one. And that was a pretty well a no-brainer, because it wasn't working for him at Raw. So to come back has done him the world of good.
Yep.
I guess the final point is that the Jets players now are all, whether they're starting or not, they're all of the mindset that they've got to be ultra competitive. They've got to be keeping each other on their heels. Because Carl Robinson is no mug of a manager. He's managed in the MLS. He's got a very impressive playing pedigree. And you feel right now like Laurie McKenna is going to give him the keys to do whatever he wants to do in the off-season. So that has, in effect, created this mindset of far out. Suddenly we've gone from, like, you know, trying to pick ourselves up every week to everyone's just
up and about.
Absolutely. So I guess what my question becomes is, given the sensational uprising that we've seen at the Jets, they don't travel well at Cooper Stadium.
No.
That's the only thing going against them in this tie.
They played well early in the year though against us.
They did.
In a 38-degree.
Yeah, the game should have been postponed.
It should be postponed.
They should have won.
Yes,
on
they
that
should.
day. It's one of the many games, and I've said to people, there's probably 4 or 5 games that we've played this season where you can say we've comprehensively outplayed the opposition. The final point though, despite that Cooper Stadium record, they're surely in a very good frame of mind travelling here Sunday.
Definitely, yeah. That was pretty sure the bye last week, so they had a good win against Perth. And Perth aren't easy to beat at all.
No, well, one of the competition favourites.
Exactly right. And I watched that game against Perth, and they were excellent. I thought they just played played the whole 90 minutes. There was no, they didn't really have a down patch. They were in it for the whole game. Abini came off the bench and he looked lively, and then O'Donovan's starting to connect with them now, and keen to see what Ledley did play that game. So I'm not sure he'll start on the weekend. They'll probably go. They'll probably go that Ugarkovic type, who's been in pretty good form. And so I'm telling you now, the Jets will back themselves in this weekend, and Adelaide are going to be right under pressure here, because they're at home. They're against a Jets outfit that have had the bye, so Jets will be fresh. It's going to be an interesting game. I'm not too sure how it plays out, to be honest. I think
I'll ask you for your prediction later on.
Alright.
But
yeah, I'm not too sure how it's
from a Jets point of view, they must be licking their lips.
Well, yeah. But in saying that, Adelaide have every right to be fired up, and Verbeek is going to fire this team up to make sure that this embarrassment does not happen again, especially at home, against an opponent that's lower than them on the table. But I'm telling you, Newcastle have everything to play for, and they'll come here and put Adelaide to the sword if Adelaide don't bring their A game.
A lot of commentators around the league saying that it's sink or swim from an Adelaide perspective. And
how many games left?
Well, there's about 8 or so, and that's my next question. So it's a fitting segue. Players will always tell you they don't look ahead or any further than their next game.
Yeah.
But our fixture run is certainly a daunting one after the Jets home game.
Yep.
So we have to travel to Wellington, Sydney and Perth and host Sydney and Perth, we've got to travel to Wellington, Sydney and Brisbane and host Sydney and Perth at home. How much, I mean, that is a shockingly difficult run. How much of a chance percentage do you give the Reds of sneaking into the finals?
Oh,
Never mind what happens against the Jets. Or let's say, for argument's sake, we win against Newcastle.
at the moment, what I saw last week, I don't see us making the 6. To be honest,
20%? That's
probably 20%. Yeah, I just think the trip against Perth will be tough. We didn't win early in the year there. Wellington, did you say, or was it Brisbane?
Brisbane away and Wellington away as well.
And we haven't won. We didn't win against Brisbane away.
No, we beat them at home.
Beat them at home.
Yeah.
And Wellington,
we've lost to them on the only occasion I think we've played them. Which was at home.
Okay. Yeah, I can't. It's going to be very tough. Look, it can be done, and Adelaide can turn this around. They've got the players to do it. They've got the personnel to do so. In saying that, they need to pick up the points this week. This is a must-win game. If they don't win this game, that's it for me. I think that they're done. That's the way it is.
Very telling indeed. It brings us to the point where I ask you for your prediction on Sunday.
This is a tough one, actually. I've got no idea how this is going to play out, to be honest. I think Adelaide will bounce back.
We haven't drawn a game all year, and you don't.
I don't say the draw, but also no.
You don't fancy us doing it on this weekend, do you?
Look, I think I'm going to back us in. I'm just.
You're a brave man.
I'm a brave guy, and I'm going to back us in with a 2-1 win.
Who scores?
I'm going to go McGree.
Who else?
And yeah, exactly right. And I think if Opseth plays, I reckon he might get one. If he plays, I don't know. I'm taking a punt here.
Really?
Oh no. Hey, I'm taking. You asked me for my prediction. Opseth and McGree.
Just on Opseth, what do you make of the recent news that his former club in Turkey are now? This happened at the start of the year, and apparently they're reopening their case to be awarded a transfer fee of $2 million. Now, this is a question I'm going to ask you. If it comes to the point somehow where Adelaide United have got to fork out $2 million to have this guy, is he the biggest flop in our history?
I've had a few.
That price?
Yeah, he's big. Yeah, yes, definitely, 100%.
Okay.
For $2 million.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Your prediction?
Hopefully it doesn't happen. My prediction.
We're at home and we've just lost 5-1, so you've got to give them. They're going to be some fire in the belly. I'm telling you.
I think we're going to outshade them in possession, but I'm going for a 2-0 loss.
It's Newcastle.
But I can't.
They aren't that good.
I can't back this team. I'm sorry.
All right. Well,
I cannot back this team. Every time I've done it, they've pulled something out of the bag, which has been completely not what I've kind of forecasted.
That's completely fair enough.
I can't back this team. I'm sorry. Right now, I'm going for a 2-0 loss. No. Hopefully.
All right.
Do you know what? Do you know why I say that? Because if we lose, and I say, well, I told you. But if we win,
news.
So it's kind of like you're safe on both ends.
Yeah,
anyway, I don't want to sound too negative, but I can't back this team. Just in general news for the club, Ryan Strain did recommit to Adelaide United, signed a 2-year 2-year deal during the week. Now, we talk about the need for new defenders going into the new season, but Ryan Strain is, if he's not going to be starting, he's short.
He's pretty solid.
He's adequate enough for just depth. So he's only 22 as well.
I like
Still got plenty to learn.
No, he's good.
Another one of these sort of no-brainer re-signings.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, he's serviceable. I like him.
You feel like this is almost a pledge for him to keep that starting spot going into next season, though, because Moroney did recommit as well.
That's right.
A further 1-year deal, and even though he's considered more as a third centre back, he's the only other option at right back.
No, I think it's Strain's position, to be honest. I don't think they'll.
Strain's to lose.
Strain's to lose, yeah. But I don't think they'll fill anyone. I don't think they can fill anyone for that void next year anyway.
Fair enough. Now, what is concerning for Adelaide United fans, Bruce did say he loves a Twitter forum.
He does. I saw that.
Especially when we're down in the dumps. Seems like it happens every single week. We lose heavily now. But Bruce Judo got back on Twitter again, just over the week that's been. And one of the more interesting questions thrown at him was, you know, if there's going to be investment in this club, when are we going to see it?
Yeah.
And particularly in the form of, you know, a Le Fondre type, not Le Fondre, but someone in that. If we buy someone's hand off for Le Fondre.
Yeah.
But someone of that mould.
Yeah, that caliber. Yeah.
That's scored goals at a high level. Not with all disrespect, I said it when we signed Opseth. You look at the majority of goals he scored. It's been in the Norway second and third divisions.
That's right.
A far cry from Le Fondre scoring goals in the championship. Anyway, Bruce Jutte said comprehensively no.
Is he bluffing?
No big marquees to come. Well,
is he bluffing?
What's the strategy behind bluffing?
Well, I'm just saying, is he bluffing?
I mean,
how does he know we don't lose 2 or 3 next year and we have this budget?
Well, I think what he's trying to say is we are not structured to bring
a
marquee-esque players to the club. So don't expect that we will. But I mean, is that like a safe from a PR perspective? Is that safe to be so you know, firm?
Adamant on it.
Yeah.
The fact that they're not getting anyone.
Because like you know, you try, Joe. Let's not forget. There are multiple sections that you're trying to look after in this club. It's not just on the field.
No, I agree. Commercial.
You've got to bring members in. And say
their membership numbers haven't been that great either.
Not crash hard, or Wellington have surpassed us. And going into next season, you're making statements like that categorically no marquees. You know, say we don't make the top 6.
But on the opposite foot, would you rather him say yeah and then bring in no one?
I'd rather him leave the door slightly ajar.
Okay, well. Yeah.
Surely that's the safest thing to do, because if you do that, then like you can technically go on and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And no one's going to be like, oh, well, you said this. But now he's come out and said, nah, no marquees, forget about it. So what's
maybe Ellis is exactly right. We aren't getting any, and what we've got is what we've got.
But what's to say we're not going to replace Opseth with Opseth?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, most likely going to.
Yeah.
But say Opseth leaves, say Agree leaves, say Troisi.
I think we can start to be comfortable about the fact that Opseth will leave. You'd assume he's one of the higher earners, and it has not worked out.
I think Agree's on his wall gets offers, and I'm not sure he's committed. It's a 2-3 year deal, wasn't it?
It's more than one. I can't remember exactly how many years.
Sorry?
No, it's more than one.
Oh, it's more than one.
I can't remember how many years exactly.
Yeah, I thought.
But whether McGree goes or not, you know, if he's playing, and Bruce Jutte did, to be fair, say that he doesn't want to see McGree here for more than 2 years because he's not a player that should be here.
No,
effectively.
He's a stand-up.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, and look, the argument is we've brought in a lot of young players, young South Australian players, and maybe that's just you know, the blueprint that we've got to follow from now on, and not worry about gambling on overseas has-beens.
The problem is we're getting these recruits wrong. I mean, this Opseth one. I mean,
all of them.
Yeah, and it's hard to say because I'm not a scout.
Every import signing this season has failed.
Every import we've got at the moment.
Yeah.
Besides, I liked a couple of years back who we have in. He was a bit injury. Salonson.
The 5 minutes he played on the pitch.
He scored every time he came on.
And I'll just throw in credit to Antonio Spagonis, big Adelaide United fan. He made the point that Absalonson's killing it in Denmark again now.
Even what was the Adelaide?
Daniel Adelaide.
Yeah, good player as well. I think we got that year. We actually got him okay. Now ever since then, I'm not sure what's going on at the moment because the signings we brought in, Maria. I don't think you give him a pass mark. or a mark at all. But is he out of position? I thought he was.
No. Signed as a left back.
Okay, see, I thought he was playing
when he
left winger.
He
was playing left wingers in the FA Cup.
Yeah, he was because he was trialling Kiddo left back. But the club announced Maria as a left back, so he's a left back.
Okay.
And so I don't want to, because there are fans who are saying, "Oh,
he's out of position."
He's signed as a left back.
Okay, I didn't know that, so thank you for confirming that.
Anyway, I don't know why I just got really, really fired up.
Still, you've got something against Michael Maria.
I think a fair few people do right now.
Yeah, well,
particularly given...
But hey, he's still getting a gig every week though.
Yeah, because we don't have another left back. Kiddo's not a left back.
We're playing. He'll start this week, Kiddo.
Well,
Just watch. Josh Risdon
if Maria starts...
earned himself an EA Sports Team of the Week on FIFA, mate, with those 3 assists.
so Maria earned it for it. Anyway, I don't want to single out certain individuals because the whole team was poor. But, you know, Michael Maria's been the biggest question mark, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joseph Marciano, tell us about Norwood quickly.
Yeah, going well.
Go on.
The club's in good stead heading into 2020.
The Red Legs.
The Red Legs. So, yeah.
Who also play at Cooper Stadium, but not our Cooper Stadium.
Not your Cooper Stadium.
No.
Different one. But,
Fiddling, we weren't going to play there 4 years ago. Do you remember that?
I thought the women's team was going to actually go.
No, when we were under the Greg Griffin reign, he threatened to...
go to Norwood Oval.
Yeah, because of the dispute with the Adelaide Entertainment Group and the rent costs of Cooper Stadium. As in our Coopers.
Oh, fair enough. Well, at the moment, our stadium's getting renovated, actually. We've got the new club room coming in and change room, so it's all on the go at the moment, and we're eagerly anticipating 2020. We've got some big signings in. Richie Douglas from the Crows and Bastanak from the Brisbane Lions, so...
one hand on the trophy already, many are saying.
Finals up.
I know, as an employee, you're going to play it down, but I'm sorry with the...
We're at one game-by-game scenario.
With the recruits that have come in, I'm sorry, you got one hand on it already.
Of course we do. Everyone says that.
Joe, it's been great getting you a mate, former member of Adelaide United's media department, of course.
Always a pleasure, Ellis.
And talking football with you on or off camera, always a delightful thing to do.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Always, mate. Thanks for coming in. Second ever appearance.
Always good.
Always great value, and we do hope the Reds get up this Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like and share the page and keep your eyes peeled on what this channel is doing. We are growing by the week, and we thank you for all your support. It's very appreciated. All the best. Enjoy the game Sunday, or at least try to. Hopefully we can change our form around a little bit and get back in the winner's circle. All the best, guys. Cheers.